Hey Chad, welcome back to the show. Glad you're here because today we're tackling something I think everyone faces daily. Starting conversations without resorting to the classic, "How are you?" It's everywhere, right? That automatic opener we all use but barely think about.
Oh man, way too often. You know those moments when it feels like you and the other person are trapped in a never-ending loop of, "How are you? Good. You? Good." It's like social quicksand. You're both stuck and neither of you knows how to get out.
Exactly. And here's the thing. That one phrase, "How are you?" might be the single most overused, underperforming conversation opener in the history of human interaction. Everyone's heard it a million times, and it rarely sparks anything meaningful. It's basically become a greeting, not a question.
Right? It's become more of a rhetorical question than an actual inquiry. People don't expect a real answer, and honestly, most don't have the time or energy to share what's really going on. It's a quick check-in, but it kills curiosity. Because it's so common, it feels robotic, which makes people mentally switch off almost immediately.
That's such a good way to put it. And I think the reason we keep defaulting to it is simple. It feels safe. "How are you?" is familiar, low risk, and instantly understandable. Nobody's going to judge you for asking it, but the payoff for something different is way higher. So today, we're tackling exactly that. We're going to talk about why "How are you?" is holding your conversations back, and then we're diving into a whole arsenal of better questions, 133 of them to be exact, that can completely transform the way you connect with people.
133! That sounds like a lot, but honestly, when you think about how many conversations you have in a week, at work, with friends, at the gym, on a first date, having a bigger toolkit makes all the difference. Most people recycle the same 5 questions, which is exactly how those awkward silences sneak in.
And it's not just awkward silences. Boring conversations have a real cost. They leave people feeling unheard, uninteresting, and disconnected, whereas a good conversation, one where you actually learn something or laugh together, leaves both people feeling energized.
That's a really important point. I read somewhere that people remember how a conversation made them feel way longer than they remember what was actually said. So if your opener makes someone feel bored or like just another checkbox interaction, that's the impression that sticks.
Exactly. So let's start by really unpacking what makes "How are you?" so ineffective. I was scrolling through Quora the other day and stumbled upon a huge thread of suggestions for better conversation openers. And it got me thinking. The first line you use sets the tone for everything that follows.
First impressions, right? The way you start can either open a door or slam it shut. "How are you?" often ends up being a polite formality where nobody actually shares anything real. It's like saying good morning with a shrug. The conversation starts already half dead.
And that's the trap. You open with something generic, you get a generic answer, and suddenly you're both standing there wondering what to say next. Whereas if you open with something specific, playful, or situational, the whole dynamic shifts instantly.
Completely. For me, it's about making the opener feel intentional. Something like, "What's something good that happened to you today?" or "What's been grabbing your attention this week?" Those invite the other person to share something real rather than defaulting to fine or good.
I love those because they turn the question into a prompt for a story rather than a one-word answer. I also found some great ones like, "What's the most surprising thing you've seen lately?" or "Have you tried any new hobbies recently?" They invite curiosity without putting anyone on the spot.
And the beauty of those questions is they work for both strangers and people you already know. With a stranger, it breaks the ice naturally. With someone you know, it deepens the conversation beyond surface level. You find out things about people you've known for years that you never knew before.
That's so true. I asked one of my longtime coworkers, "What's something you've been really into lately that most people don't know about?" And found out he's been learning pottery on weekends for 2 years. 2 years! And we'd never talked about it because we always just did the "How are you?" dance.
That's the perfect example. People have whole worlds inside them that never come out because nobody asked the right question. And here's something people don't always think about. These openers work in professional settings too. We tend to think creative questions are just for parties or casual meetups, but they work just as well in meetings or networking events.
Tell me more about that because I think a lot of people worry about seeming unprofessional if they ask something unexpected at work.
Totally valid concern. But here's the thing. Professionalism doesn't mean robotic. I remember this one virtual team meeting where instead of the usual, "How's everyone doing?" the team lead asked, "If you could teleport anywhere right now for a coffee break, where would it be?"
Ha, that's great.
It completely changed the energy. Suddenly, everyone was sharing travel dreams, favorite cafes, funny wish I was there moments. People who barely spoke in meetings were chiming in. And then the actual work part of the meeting went better too, because everyone felt more connected going in.
That's the thing people underestimate. A few seconds of genuine human connection at the start of a meeting pays dividends for the rest of it. People are more collaborative, more open, more willing to share ideas when they feel like actual humans in the room rather than just job titles.
Exactly, and it applies to networking too. If you're at a conference and you walk up to someone and say, "So, what do you do?" you're going to get their elevator pitch. But if you say, "What's the most interesting thing you've learned or heard at this event so far?" now you're having a real conversation.
You're also immediately differentiating yourself from every other person who approached them that day. Now, I know some people worry about sounding awkward or forced when they try new openers. How do you get past that?
Start small and be authentic. If you pick something that genuinely interests you, it won't sound forced. The worst thing you can do is try a question you don't actually care about the answer to. People can feel that. Ask about something you actually want to know.
Give us some examples of how you'd customize for different situations.
Sure, say you're at a friend's party and you want to connect with someone you don't know. Something like, "What's been the highlight of your week so far?" feels warm and approachable. If you're at a networking event and you want to stand out, try, "What's a project you're working on right now that you're genuinely excited about?" It signals that you care about more than their job title.
And if it's a first date?
Oh, first dates are where creative questions really shine. Instead of, "Where are you from?" try, "What's something you did recently that you're proud of?" or "What's the best thing that happened to you this month?" It immediately gets the other person talking about something positive, and you get a window into what they value.
I love that. And it sets a much better emotional tone than the standard interview-style questions most first dates turn into.
Right. Nobody falls in love over, "So where did you grow up and what do you do for work?" But they might fall in, like over, "What's the last thing that made you laugh out loud?" That's a conversation people actually remember.
And honestly, throwing in a little humor never hurts. Like instead of "How's your day?" you could say, "Survive another caffeine crash," or "Already on to round 2? It's silly, but it's relatable, and it catches people off guard in the best way.
Relatable humor lowers people's guard instantly. And for those who are shy or introverted and find new openers intimidating, start with something low-key but still different. "I saw this crazy headline today. Did you hear about it?" Or, "I'm on a mission to find the best coffee spot nearby. Any recommendations?" Simple, non-threatening, and gives the other person room to engage.
Practice with friends or family first, too. It builds confidence before you try it in higher-stakes situations. And don't be discouraged if one doesn't land perfectly. Even professional comedians bomb sometimes. The skill is in trying and adjusting.
And pay attention to your surroundings. Environmental cues are gold for starting conversations, especially with strangers. What made you decide to come to this event? Or seen anything interesting here yet? Feel natural because they're tied to the shared moment you're both in.
Right. It makes the conversation relevant immediately rather than generic. And once someone answers, you have natural follow-ups ready. You're not fumbling for what to say next because the answer itself gives you material.
Which brings us to something really important. A great question is just the start. Active listening is what keeps the conversation alive. When someone answers, follow up thoughtfully or share something about yourself. That's what turns a one-sided Q&A into a real exchange.
And this is where a lot of people go wrong. They ask a good question, get a great answer, and then immediately jump to the next question. That makes it feel like an interview. Instead, respond to what they said. Build on it. Share your own take.
Conversations are like a tennis match. You ask, they answer, you respond to their answer, not just serve again. The volley is where the connection happens.
Perfect analogy. All right, let's get into some of the actual questions, because this is where it gets really fun. The idea behind these 133 non-boring questions is simple. They reveal personality, spark imagination, and invite storytelling. Once you try a few of these, you'll never go back to how are you.
Let's share our personal favorites and talk about why they work. Because understanding the why helps you adapt them and come up with your own.
Perfect. I'll kick things off. One of my all-time favorites is, if you could instantly master any skill, what would it be and why? It sounds simple, but it invites deep thinking and fun storytelling. You find out what someone values, what they wish they could do, and sometimes what they're a little embarrassed they can't do yet.
I love that one. You get answers like, I'd master cooking so I could stop spending money on delivery. And suddenly you're talking about food, lifestyle, money, and values all at once. Or someone says, I'd master a new language, and now you're talking about travel, heritage, culture.
Or someone says tightrope walking, and now you're in a whole unexpected conversation about circus arts and bucket lists. You just never know where it goes. And that unpredictability is what makes conversation exciting.
Exactly. Another great one from that category. What's something you used to believe strongly that you've completely changed your mind about? That one goes deep fast. It shows intellectual humility and opens up genuinely interesting discussions.
That's a bold one, but so good. Another favorite of mine is, if you could live in any fictional world, which one would it be? It's playful and creative, and it tells you so much about someone's imagination and the stories they love. Harry Potter fans reveal themselves immediately.
Ha! Or the Lord of the Rings people who would unironically choose to be a hobbit just to eat second breakfast every day.
Exactly the kind of answer that makes you immediately like someone. Now, your favorites, Chad.
Okay, I love asking, what's a guilty pleasure you won't admit to? Because it's cheeky and relatable. People always laugh, and then they actually answer because everyone has one. It takes a conversation from stiff to playful in seconds.
It's also a great equalizer. Everyone feels a little vulnerable answering it, which creates instant connection. You both laugh together, and suddenly you're on the same team.
Exactly. Another one I love is, if animals could talk, which species would be the rudest? Purely because it's unexpected and funny. Nobody sees it coming, and it gets people genuinely thinking and laughing at the same time. I've had 15-minute conversations come out of that one question.
That's the magic of a truly unexpected question. It jolts people out of autopilot. And my next pick, if you had to eat only one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be? Food is universal. People get surprisingly passionate about this one.
Passionate is an understatement. I once watched two people almost argue for 20 minutes over whether pizza counts as one meal or whether you could choose the style of pizza each time. That's a good conversation.
And my third, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received? That one works beautifully because it's positive, reflective, and almost always leads somewhere meaningful. People love sharing wisdom they've been given.
That's such a good one for networking especially. You learn what shaped someone professionally and personally. And my last favorite, what's the coolest place you've ever traveled to and why? Travel stories are vivid, emotional, and almost always lead somewhere unexpected. You can pivot from there into food, culture, adventure, disasters. It's a treasure trove.
And all of these work across different types of people. Introverts, extroverts, new acquaintances, old friends, colleagues, dates. That adaptability is what makes them so valuable.
Here's another category worth mentioning, opinion-based questions. These are great because there's no wrong answer, so they feel low pressure. Things like, what's a popular thing everyone loves that you just don't get? Or what's something you think is totally overrated? People love having permission to be a little contrarian.
Those are great because they reveal personality so quickly. You immediately find out if someone is a critical thinker, a people pleaser, or someone with genuinely strong opinions.
And they often lead to playful debate, which is one of the most fun forms of conversation there is, as long as it stays lighthearted.
Now let's talk about something important. Openers should also reflect your own personality. The best conversation starters are authentic to who you are. If you love nature, ask, what's your favorite place to unwind outdoors? If you're into music, try heard any good songs lately, something I should add to my playlist? The more genuine the question, the more genuine the connection.
And don't underestimate the power of a well-placed compliment as a conversation opener. But it has to be specific. Not nice outfit, but that's a really cool pin. What's the story behind it? Specific and genuine compliments invite storytelling. Generic ones just get a thanks and an awkward silence.
Sincerity is everything. People can tell immediately when you're going through the motions versus when you're actually curious. And real curiosity, genuine interest in another person, is what makes you memorable as a conversationalist.
There's actually research on this. People consistently rate curious, engaged listeners as more interesting and attractive than people who just talk about themselves, even if those self-talkers are objectively more accomplished or funny. The act of being genuinely interested in someone makes them feel interesting. And that feeling sticks.
That's the whole point of today's episode, really. It's not about having a list of clever tricks. It's about showing up to conversations with real curiosity and the willingness to go somewhere unexpected.
And giving yourself and the other person permission to drop the script. The "how are you" script keeps everyone safe and comfortable, but also keeps everyone at arm's length. The moment you ask something real, the walls come down.
So here's our challenge for you this week. Pick just one question from today's episode, one that resonates with you or makes you a little nervous, and try it in a real conversation. Notice what happens. Does the other person light up? Does the conversation go somewhere you didn't expect?
And then come back and tell us about it. Drop your favorite conversation starter in the comments, or tell us about a time a great question completely changed the vibe of an interaction. We genuinely love hearing those stories, and your experiences help everyone else listening get inspired.
Because great conversations aren't just good for you. They're good for the people you talk to. Everyone deserves to feel seen, heard, and genuinely interesting. And the right question, whether it's silly, deep, playful, or unexpected, is the fastest shortcut to making that happen.
So ditch "how are you," at least for one conversation this week. Try something new. The worst that happens is you get an unexpected answer. The best that happens is you make a real connection.
Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Until next time, keep asking better questions.
And keep listening to the answers. See you next time.
Take care, everyone.